Hey, everybody. So we're going to let people funnel in here. Then we're going to get started. A lot to go over. Looked at so many charts this weekend. It was crazy. So just a lot to go over. Just a ton. So let's see how this plays out. But just really just a ton for us to review. Let's just see. And go here. And let me just click on this real quick. All right, great. And we'll drop it in the room. And then I got to put it on the interwebs, and then we're good to go. You get people funneling in here. All right. It looks like we got people finally funneling in here. See how this plays out. And we're all set up. We're all ready to go. So I'm just going to start as this starts to funnel in. And we can begin. So in regards to, what I'm looking at is I'm really just focused on what's happening for me, I'm just focused on what's happening with the SPY right now. I mean, I'm really looking at the indexes. So I'll just walk through what I see here. And you can see a bump, right, where you jump over it and then you completely encapsulate this down. And that's something that we really have to watch. We're going to see how that plays out. So I really like the idea here of, seeing how this goes, but I like that you held the 50, but you're really going to have to see what happens here. I mean, that's really what the focus has to be on. So let's see how that plays out. We'll have to see, but overall, I'm very comfortable with it. And I think that we look great, from a holding standpoint. I'm surprised we held, frankly. It really looked like we were going to break down, and that's not what transpired. So, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it plays out. So if you have questions or comments, just post them in the chat. Anything you want to see, post Q&A in the chat. I'll even put this in here. If there's anything that anybody wants to go over, just put it in the chat. I don't know what I did. I did something. Maybe I did something wrong. What's going on? Yeah, sometimes Sundays are weird, but it looks like we've got people funneling in now. Let's go. What do you think of Home Depot? So I think that you've got to focus that. Here's the thing about names like Home Depot, Zane. And here's the thing. So first off, if I draw this properly, right, this upper channel, you're sitting right there. Hey, Cameron, you're sitting right here, right, buddy? So look, this is where you're at. All right. Now the issue becomes, why is Home Depot going up? Well, Home Depot is going to be going up the same reason that Lowe's is going up. Okay. So it's the same reason that nail is going up, right? So you're going to see a theme here. And the reason for this theme is, as the stock market gets hit, people put money into, and you might want to remember this, people put money into their homes. Instead of putting 10 grand into the stock market, they just say, you know what, we keep losing money in the stock market. Let's get that fence. Let's get that pool. We start to see that kind of stuff. So this sector could do quite well if we pull back. That is possible. And you could see that even with, the home builders are a little harder to play, but you can see them breaking out. I mean, market gets hit, these stocks are going higher. So I think there's something to it, and I think it could work. So I like it, Zane. I like the idea. What's up? Is that a Cowboys helmet? Oh. What's going on, Cameron? Hey, Param. So it looks like Omicron is not very serious. and it seems to become beneficial. I think, look, I think that the Omicron is not the issue. I think the issue is that the Omicron, like here's how I view this, right? I view this as, let's look at what truly happened, right? We have a position where you guys actually look good. Dallas actually looks good right now. I'm just teasing, but look better than my birds. Anyway, think about what transpired on Friday, right? Thursday, if you just look at the SPY and use this as your gauge, okay? Thursday, what happened? Omicron was worse than it was on Friday from what we knew, right? Friday, there was better news. We sold down because of the jobs report. We sold down because they're going to taper. And if they taper, you're going to see asset deflation. Asset deflation also means the S&P is going to come in. So that's why I think you could see crypto come in, commodities come in, the SPY could come down. Right now on all these indexes, on the Qs, the SPY, and IWM, I have sell signals on indicators. One is a public indicator and one is a proprietary indicator that I use. So they all three gave short-term sell signals at the close on Friday. And as you guys all know, and girls know, I like waiting to the close. So most of the metrics that I use are based upon closes. So I think the bigger issue is the tapering and the weak job market. I think that's the larger issue. And we're going to have to see how that plays out. My hope for everybody, forget the market, is I really hope it's not a big deal. I hope it spreads like the common cold and it builds natural immunity, or people take more precaution because of it and it just stops. I mean, I think it's just wearing on everybody mentally. So, but do I think it's going to affect the market? I don't know. I really don't know, Param. I looked at futures this morning, or I'm sorry, I looked at futures a little bit ago. The S&P is up 38 basis points right now, and the NASDAQ's up 12. It's not really a ringing endorsement. The absolute worst thing, what's going on, Ricardo? What's the absolute worst thing that could happen is that we actually gap up. Like if you gap up, just sell all your longs that you bought on Friday because it's a gift. What you want to do is you want to open flat, have it build, and be quiet, and then you start having people wonder why they're not in the market. That's what you want. So whether or not we get that remains to be seen. So I'll tell you right now, this was the first time in a solid, I would say over a year, where I really couldn't find a good looking long chart. The best good looking like big tech long chart is Apple. And I even commented on it in the newsletter tonight for those that get that newsletter. You just say it. I mean, it's the best performing one out of all of them. But even NVIDIA showed cracks on Friday. Like we have not done this. We have not closed below that 21 day since here. So not since we bought. This was when we bought off the 21 break. This is when we sold off the 21 break. So, I mean, it wasn't a bad trade. We did fairly well with it. But when you start seeing signs like that, right, that's not bad. 2.5 months, 40%. But when you see things like that, you need to pay attention to it. And the tapering scares me a little bit. I'll show you why the tapering scares me, Param. Let me show you something. Just to put this in perspective, this is Microsoft, right? This is why it scares me. This is what you've been doing. You've had no backfill, right? So even off the monthly, to put this in perspective, this is the 50-month on Microsoft, right? You're 100% above it. They're pretty big bubble levels, right? You're usually not like that. And this is all stemming from 2018. So something to think about. There's huge asset inflation going on right now. Let's just keep going into the names. I hope that answers it, Param. If not, we can get into greater detail. So this is Q&A. We can talk about anything except the Cowboys. ABBV. So I like ideas like this right now. I'm going to tell you why. Because they're not going to be tied to inflationary policy. They're going to move predicated upon how they perform as a company. You can't say that about everybody. Let's clean this whole chart up. And let's just review this for a moment, see what we're looking at. So right here, Okay, 121.53 right here, 106, right? There's your range. I don't see sense in doing anything. Like I would not buy this until I get above this long red nasty bar, right? So let's just open this up and take a look. So until I'm above this, there's no need to go near this. Okay, this was obviously some either earnings or a news date of some kind. Obviously, earnings were extremely well received, more so than this time, which is great. But I got to get above 121.53 for me to be interested in that. Hey, Di. We make our own luck, Di, but thank you. Costco. So Costco is another example of a company that is probably going to do its own thing. I actually like Costco here. I need to watch it do a couple things, but I think Costco is setting up for a bounce here. This is when you want to buy Costco. If you really look at where you want to buy it, okay, it's if you got under, well, not here, but like if you look at how it respects the 21 day, right? If you can get to the 50, you definitely want to buy it. So, but this is where you buy it and you forget you own it. But yeah, that could absolutely bounce. I mean, this is your first day of that, right? And then you got above there and you rejected, but everything rejected on Friday. Nobody wanted to go into the weekend owning anything. So we might as well clean this all up. But nobody wanted to go in the weekend owning anything. So if we just overlay this, you can see where the 8 is, right? So, I mean, long term, I actually did a video on this today. I'll just pop it in real quick. But long term on this, it's just, you're just straight up. Like this is just a massive uptrend. There's really no reason to do anything with it. It probably respects this level and holds. So I don't see a reason to do anything. Lulu, is Lulu good for a put? You know, people love their Lululemon. I would argue that here, if you break below this 434 level, 434.22, I would argue that you can, but that you're shorting a really strong stock. So you're going to want to look for some other indicators. These are all, this is your major support. So let's get rid of this one so we don't clog it up. But that's major support right there, right? Okay, so now we know where major support is. Now, this is a minor support, but it's there. But that still gets you 20 points. Where you can really benefit and where it can really work is you see this, right? I'm going to have to change this. This was all it did from a video. So what we're going to do is click on properties, click this arrow, and then we're going to have to just change the stroke size of that because that's ridiculous. And then we're going to have to go here and I'll show you the other one. So these are the kinds of charts I love because what happens is the trajectory starts changing. So as the angle starts changing, they usually go higher. Now you really can't draw one here yet because you don't have anything that's telling you you're going to stop there, right? So you really can't do that. Now, you're at least coming to this line if you break that 50-day. It might be worth it. It might not. The issue you're going to run into is, to me, it looks like the VIX is going to spike, which means that things are probably going to come down a little bit more, which means that you're going to put yourself in a position where you're going to have to watch how things play out. And what do I mean by that? I mean, you could be going out there and buying puts on a high VIX and have an issue. But this could drop. I mean, if you break that level, right? If you break that 430 level, you're probably going lower. You're at least going down 15 points to test that. So, yeah, I was born an Eagles fan. I didn't have a choice either, buddy. So, thoughts on Donut for a new small account I opened up. Also, do you have any other small names you're interested in? Yeah, I do tend to stay away from them. For a whole litany of reasons. And I don't know that, you know, it's the right thing to do to change strategy based upon account size, but I know people do. You know, look, here's the way that I look at this. Can this work? Yes. Okay. It's kind of setting up to work. There's a lot of things that are going for this. You broke right here, right? You can see that level. You can actually say that this is one here because you peaked and left it there, broke below it. So this becomes a level. Let's move this up a little bit so now you can see it a little cleaner, right? Get off that. Let's just open this way up. So you're right on that line, right? You see that now? So could this work? Yeah, there's a lot going for this. I was looking at this earlier. Look at the RSI. You broke below the 50 and then you bounced right through it. Okay, I could tell you right now that some other keys are definitely setting up here. I'd be curious about this. Yeah, I mean, this could definitely work. There's no question about it. You got to get over this. I mean, that's really where you buy it, over 1610. There's nothing really short term that I saw out there that's smaller right now. That is something that I'm like, you know what, I got to buy this. The best one that I saw, to answer your question, Cameron, was this. This was the best one that I saw that was out there. And, you know, I initiated a position on it Friday and I just sold it at the end of the day just because look how we closed. We closed at the low on a hammer. I'm setting up 2/3 of a evening star. If I break that tomorrow, right, I'm going to here. So I got out of it. I didn't like this rejection. It's a double. It's a double. The rejection's not confirmed until I break here, right? But I ran right to that level and stopped. That's not where you want to buy it. So I would argue that if you're looking for a smaller name, put this on your list. Their deal with Amazon is real. I mean, that's a real deal. I looked into it. Like, it's legitimate. Think about it. Everyone that wants a recipe, they're going to be tied in the Blue Apron and how they can buy the products for that specific meal. Like, that's a big deal. And it's a great way for Amazon, who's tied into Whole Foods and everything else. It's just huge. So I really like that. And I think it's going to benefit the company. But you have signs here that this is going to go well. I think this can turn, but we reject it. But you have to watch that level. Hey, buddy. How are you? So CFVI, the Rumble SPAC. I guess this is what they're supposed to be putting Rumble in. Okay, so let's take a look. CFVI. I don't use Rumble. I mean, I have no idea. I know people use it and they swear by it. You know, as everybody knows, I just use the YouTube, but I don't know. I mean, look, this is what you would have to tell me about this. If you really want an opinion, you really got to tell me, Isaac, where are they pricing the deal at? Because I don't have any idea. Other than that, you want a super technical opinion? You know, this is not something I'd be going near based upon this. If you flip that 1228 level, then yeah, I'll pay attention to it. Also, just watch these levels. I mean, this is all you have, right? And just to point out, on top of that, this is the only thing everyone else has. So this is what everybody's using. Well, let me rephrase that. This is what everybody should be using. The levels. That's it. That's all you have to work with. Everything else is just frolics. I mean, because it's just starting. But you have to watch these kinds of companies right now. Okay, lots of pumps and dumps towards the end of the year, usually. So just be careful. And I don't know where they priced the deal, Isaac, and I need to know that. Oh, you're welcome, Param. So earnings for MDB and RH are coming up, and the earnings have been historically great. So I don't specifically buy stocks because they're coming out with earnings and gamble on whether or not they're going to be great. The way that I've done it is I try to buy companies ahead of earnings that I think are going to be great or long-term plays and try to get involved with them for earnings, like we did with NVIDIA, right? So we were able to get a position in NVIDIA back here, and then you're up in it, and then you stay in it, and then the earnings were good, and then you took a shot. Maybe it was going to break out, not so much, back to earth. But at least we took the shot, right? And we were protected because we had a cushion. I don't just go out there. I mean, I've been doing this. I have enough experience being burnt that I don't do that. I'll be honest. What I see a lot of is this. Okay. And I see a lot of charts like this, especially in retail. Okay. Consumer confidence does not look great in what's going on in the country right now. I mean, I don't want to talk, I'm not talking politically. I'm talking about the whole thing. People are not comfortable with politics and talking about politics as much as they're talking about it. They're not comfortable with the economy. They're uncomfortable with COVID. people, like, there's just no consumer confidence. So are people going to go out and buy a $1,200 couch right now? Probably not. So it really starts hurting companies like Restoration Hardware. And I think that that's what you're going to see on this earnings report. Now, what I would argue is that I would not go near this until it comes out with earnings. And then you see how those earnings are. I did well trading this on this day, but then I just got out of it because it just didn't do what it was supposed to do. And it looked perfect, right? I mean, that looked perfect. You broke out, you broke the wedge line and look like you were going to go, and you just reversed. Now you're breaking the 200 to 21. You know, this is perfect RH. The way RH trades is it breaks down and then goes into earnings and then, right, rallies right up. Did it right here, right? So it's just not a way that I play stocks. So that's not one that I would do. MBB, look, if you were in this before here for earnings, here's my argument. This is your level that you broke out last time for earnings. The trade is always the same. Okay. Once you get above that 515, you can put the trade on. You break the breakout bar, you get out of it. It's a very simple trade. So you broke it here. Okay. You could even say you broke it here, right? Above that 515. It's really this level right here, but we watched it that one day and it gave us this new level. Now you reversed here with this doji. Look at this. I mean, it's just textbook stuff. You just reversed right here with this doji and then undercut. And then that was it. Then you tried again and again and again. You got your close over it, broke again. This time you closed over it again. This is your stop. And then it just went. Okay. So what do you do with something like that? Well, that's really something that you have to figure out. For me, I'm not buying this. Like, this is not something that I would play before earnings. The earnings could be great, but there's two things you have to remember about earnings. Just because the earnings are good doesn't mean the stock's going to go up. And I know that that's contrary to how people think, but that's a fact. So it's just, if it's a bad market, they still sell down anyway. NLST. Yep. And when you ask for opinions, not just got them, but anybody that asks for opinions, if you can tell me a little bit more about what you're looking at or what you're thinking or your position, it helps me answer the question. Because, sometimes I'm just stating where to buy ideas. And if I don't know that you're in it, you might be better off me just saying, hey, this would be my stop. And you can obviously do whatever you want. This is just for informational purposes, but it gives everybody a purview to get ready for tomorrow. So the question is, what do you do here? Like, you're stuck in between these two lines very cleanly, right? You're stuck between 631 and 965 on NLST. And we must have looked at this one before, right? Because I have these levels in and I don't remember buying this one. And I have that wedge line. And you can see my wedge line right here. And that wedge line's not breaking. So the other thing that you could do is realize that these moving averages really don't mean much right now. And the reason is because you're in a flatlining zone. So when I'm in a flatlining zone, one of the best things that I can personally look at is volume by price and just see where the players are. And the players are down here. So it's holding. So I would say as long as you're holding 631, if I was in this, I wouldn't get out until I broke that. I mean, your point of control is down here. You're holding VWAP. So sometimes when you have a little peak like this, you want a little more color, you can put an anchored VWAP on there, right? And that tells you exactly what's going on. You have a battle going on where these people are they're down and they're selling, flips over it, sells down again. So again, I'd be looking at this level. For me, if I wanted to buy this, to get over that would be more appealing. Hey, Dan, happy holidays. Can you look at SBLK? Absolutely. So let's get rid of this. So I find this interesting right now that you're seeing these patterns and these carriers are making a killing, but they're just flatlining now. So you're in a trading range, Dan, is the best way to explain it. I could put the moving averages in if you want, but it's kind of pointless. So there's your range. I mean, that's it. Bonk, breaks it, right? Resistance becomes what? Support, resistance, support, right? Little Morningstar pattern, right? Kind of chunky one. Flips, shooting star, resistance, shocker, bonk, bonk, bonk. Here it comes right back down to support. Where are you going? You're probably going to here. You're probably heading back up to here. You're going to try to head back up to there. But until I was above like these peaks now and closed, I would be looking for nothing more than a short-term trade. Yeah, Apron, the way it acted on Friday was bad. It shouldn't have done that. Okay, that to me is a sign, like that's what keeps happening in this market, and people have to understand everything that you're buying in this market's just not breaking out when it's supposed to, and that's a really bad sign. So Sophie and Planter. So let's go through the obvious one, and then we'll go to the next. So this is completely broken down, and I know there's a lot of people that play this one. So let's just bring this up over because I know like to leave this for people that are on their mobile and that view this later. But you see this line right here? Okay. When you see this line, what does that mean? What do we have to focus on with that line? Well, that's your rising wedge line. You sliced through it. You sliced right through it. And then you held at support. Then you held support. Then you broke support. This is done. There's no reason that this is not going to $17. So it's a very easy trade for somebody to short, in my opinion. You could, now that you're almost out of, and you can actually argue that you are out of the trading range and you've broken, because now you're below this, you can use the moving averages because you're no longer in a trading range, and you can see what they're doing. And all of them are pointing down. So this could get hammered. If you don't hold 17, you can easily come back down here. It could easily get hit. Sophie, I'd be really careful because of the insiders. So to me, all the insiders are selling. And I think if you look historically on insider selling right now, it's big. And he has a history of doing this. So I think that's what you're seeing. This is not something I would remotely go near or try to bottom fish. You could look at your RSI here, but yeah, I mean, you can't go. I can't go near this. This could go into the 12s fairly quickly. This could easily get back down to here because you've broken. You see, when you start breaking these levels, when you see these levels, just draw little lines on them. Right? I'm going to change this to yellow. I think yellow stands out more. I must have changed them with a video I did. Yeah, I think that's better. I think it's easier to see. So when you see something like this and you break this, that's not what you want, right? And you can just walk through them, right, and see how you're slicing through them, right? Held right there perfectly. Sliced right through it. Support became what? Resistance. That was it. So, and that means that you're going to test here, and that's exactly what you did. So this works. This, what I'm just showing you right now, something to think about. So just a quick note one, SPY is a call for 460. I don't think SPY's getting the 460. Can it get the 460? Are you asking me if you have a call what to do? I will just be blunt. Like, I have a sell signal on an indicator that is very reliable for me. It's a short-term sell signal, but it's a sell signal nonetheless. So no, I'm not a huge buyer of it here. What I would say is you're in a very precarious spot. You have to hold here, right? So if you don't hold here, it's going to be fairly interesting to see how it plays out. But you need to hold here. And if you do, that would be great. But I'm not so sure that you're going to. I'm just not so sure that that's how this is going to play out. So we're going to have to watch that. We're going to have to see. I personally would not be buying it, at least until I'm above this bar, 646, or I'm sorry, 464. My dyslexia kicked in. And then if you don't do that, then you have to go from there. But it's not something that is remotely appealing. You know, Thursday set us up to break out. Thursday actually set us up a possible breakout. So it was worth playing. in my opinion. Everybody trades differently. Okay. I'm a trader. I'm active. People talk about sit out power. That's great if that's how you trade. That's not how I trade, but people should do that if that's how they trade. I argue that I want to take as much of an edge or as much money out as I can. Now, that doesn't mean that you trade recklessly. It just means that if you see a position and it's supposed to work, you should be putting the trade on. That's just my opinion. So with that said, if conditions aren't right for the way that you trade, avoid. I can see people looking at this SPY right now and going, I want nothing to do with this. Like, I get it. You can't break above the 50 on the RSI. You're wedged in between the 21. You're barely holding on here. You took out a new low the other day. And again, there's one sell signal on an indicator, and I have a proprietary indicator that I use that just gave me another short-term sell signal. So I'm not really, ready to jump in here and tell you to buy calls. So could it get to 460? Sure, easy. I mean, it's only 1%. It's only a 1% move. Yeah. So in regards to, this forum's for anything. So please ask anything. So yeah. So I use TrendSpider on here specifically for it being web-based, and it's easy, especially for beginners. If you're a beginner, I think it's one of the best out there. I am. And I am friendly with the guys. I get asked to be an affiliate for a lot of things. This is the only one I think I'm currently an affiliate for. I think I still have Benzinga, but I don't really see the value in it as much for people that have like their own trading software. I think you're better off trying to limit the amount of products that you use, especially when you're new. I think that people can get information overload, and I see that a lot. So you have to watch what products you put in, because people will say that this is an indicator or that's an indicator, and it's not. And I'm not saying there's not value in those products, but if you're looking at option flow and you don't understand who the players are and what they're doing, it could do you more harm than good. So in regards to charting, there are several programs that you can use. I own several programs for charting. Some are very expensive. Some are free and cheap. To me, this makes a lot of sense, because if you're a beginner, this is just so easy, right? I mean, there's things that you could set like auto fib, and you have to adjust them for what you want, but you can adjust your trend line so it can show you where they think trend lines are, right? And I mean, it kind of draws them almost perfectly here and then shows you down here where one is. So it kind of does all that stuff. You want to see where patterns are, you click this button, it shows you patterns. Then you can change which patterns you want, right? You want a strategy tester, you can click on the strategy tester and see how many 821 crossovers work, run it 1,000 times. So there's a lot of features for a beginner for the price point. So I like them. They're good guys. They're solid people. So I like the product, and it's one of the reasons I agreed to be an affiliate when they reached out. So I'd recommend that if you're looking for a trading software, give it a shot. There'll be a link in the description of this video, and they'll give you, I think they'll give you 7 days. And if you need longer to test it, they'll give you 7 days. And if you need longer, just reach out to me and tell me you need longer. And I think I can get you a longer extension than the 7 days. So just email me there. Guilt. Hope that answers your question. If not, let me know. So yeah, I wouldn't go near this, my friend. I mean, here's the good thing. You might have bottomed, right? Because you're washed out here, right? But I'm still not getting anywhere. Where am I going to get to? 8. So I just don't see it going anywhere. I think you're just washed out. You're certainly not getting anywhere until January, until tax selling's down, because everybody's down in this, right? Everybody from January, you're down. If you just go here and do this, right? This is the average where everybody owns the stock at this particular time. If you think about like VWAP that way, at this particular moment, this is the average price that people are in at, right? At this particular moment, this is the average price people are in at. The more people understand the calculations on how these values are calculated, the more value you can get out of them. Just kind of remember that. You can get rid of that now. We don't really need it. I would just avoid it, my friend. I don't see it. If you're looking at a short, maybe, but even that, it's like, what are you going to get, $1? Maybe you get $1 if You look at Disney. Yeah. Look, Jordo, I agree with you. Disney was the one stock on my list that just looked really interesting. And I'm watching this, right? Because this is what I look for. Like when I get down to like a 15, a 12, like on RSI, I start getting interested, right? Because theoretically, they can't go negative. So you get to a point where you're setting up for a snapback. What I really liked about this was if you go back to the pandemic lows and you look at VWAP, right, that shows you where all the players are on average since the pandemic. And that's a pretty telling number. And that's a spot you could stop at. So I think you could stop right there. I like what I'm seeing on the daily. Now let's go look at the hourly and see if you're seeing something that is interesting. So let's get rid of all these indicators and oops. I wish there was it's got to be hotkeys I can send to get rid of things to look at my free time. I see what you're saying. I'm not so sure that I would call it well, here it is for sure. Right here, 100%, you're dead on, Jordo, if this is what you're referring to. Yeah, I'll give it to you. Yeah, it's there. It's there. Give me 1 second, everyone. So yeah, that's there. I'll give that to you. That's definitely one that you could look at. There's no question about that at all. So let's just keep going. We have a lot of people in the trading community that are looking at this, and they keep looking at buying puts or selling puts or buying leaps. We keep looking at leaps. Look, you just have to realize that this could bottom. But you could also just see selling in this until the end of the year and going flatline. So I'm going to tell you that I'm probably going to use that level right there is what I would use and then kind of go from there. That's how I would look at it. Until then, I wouldn't do, I do like it and I do think that you're bottoming. I'll leave it at that. And this is really how you want to buy it because you want to buy it here and hope that it gets back to, up here, which is really the peak. And it's really right where resistance is. I mean, that's how you make money in Disney. You don't make money on Disney when it's breaking out. You make money on Disney when it's done. I remember in, I think it was 02 or 03, we did a trade on Disney. Somebody had to blow out of it. I think it was one of the Bass brothers. And they had to blow out of it for some reason. We got stock at like $8, $12. It was crazy. Let me go see and take a look at that. Now I'm thinking about it. So, I mean, that's when you buy these kinds of names. So I'm going to go back and take a look at this, see if I can find it. Yeah, it was right around, I want to say it was here or here. No, it was around here, September 15, 12, something like that. It was just nuts. So really what you're trying to focus on is, has it bottomed? Yeah, I think you're getting there. But one green day with no follow through, right? And now you're here and now you trigger it above it to lure me in and then close below it. It makes me wonder. So I'm going to wait for my 148.85. Long answer, but that's it. What's going on, Kathy? Yep. Let's take a look. So semiconductors of all the stocks, right? They look the best. I mean, when this returns, and the market will always wind up going back up, it just takes sweet time. You have corrections, bear markets, but it does go back up. Semis are going to be on fire. I mean, that's the space. Okay, this is major support, 168. You're right here. You tried to break through it, Kathy. Bonk, 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 bonk. Couldn't do it. Got up here, new highs. Tried to break over this, couldn't do it. If you just go out there and just look at this, I mean, how many stocks are still above their 21-day moving average? We're basically out of ideas in the newsletter right now. I'm going to put a bunch in there tonight for, long ideas on ETFs that are short. for people to hedge and if they want to play them. But I really think that this sector is holding up really very well. And Qualcomm's a leader. Like, look at the stocks. Okay, that's not that bad. It really isn't. But it's not great either, but it's hanging in there. So we're going to have to see how that plays itself out, right? You're going to have to see how that plays itself out and if it's worth it or not. And, you know, I don't see it. I don't see a breakdown there yet. Like, I don't see anything that's telling me that we're heading lower yet, right? I mean, I have this, we're still above the 50. We're still here. Qualcomm's a beast. So, you know, maybe if this correction ends, maybe they just pick back up again. It's not something I'd be rushing into right now because I have limited upside until I get through all this. But if I was in it, I wouldn't sell it until I close below that 21 day. It's actually holding up better than NVIDIA. NVIDIA closed below the 21 day. So we closed it. So I like it. Hey, Anita. AMD. So this is essentially what happened to me on NVIDIA. And so let's get rid of this for a moment, Anita, and let's just focus on the trading range. So we had a rising wedge, which, you know, mostly they don't end well, but we thought, okay, maybe this one would go differently. It didn't. So we got to the top end of it roughly again, broke down here, tested the support level, broke that support, tried to pop back over it, bonk, couldn't do it, hit it again. What happened? Bonk. And then we broke down. So like on Friday, what actually happened and what you have here, Anita, is you have what's called a bearish engulfing pattern where this whole bar encapsulates this and you're below this trend line and you're below the 8 and the 21 now. And it looks like we're about to break the 50 on the RSI. So to me, I wouldn't go near this. This is your first real resistance support, I apologize, point. 128 ties in perfectly with this. That could happen in a day or two if this gets ugly. So I don't think this looks as good as something like Qualcomm. But they're all breaking down, right? Like we saw this the other day. Let me just pull this up. Where we saw this where they broke them out only to lure people in to snap them back down. And it happened in a lot of names, right? A lot of names. They got started running them and then they brought them right back to reality. And I think that you could be seeing that a lot this week. So it's something to consider. Yeah, I appreciate that. Please like the video. The more people I get in front of, the more ideas we get, the more information that flows through here. I obviously can't look at everything. I appreciate it. Guidance is the key to earnings. There's no question about it, buddy, but the issue becomes the same. You can have a good report and then people use it to dump the stock. We just saw that, right? We just saw that with here, right? We just saw this. I mean, this tells you what can happen, right? AMBA had an excellent report, increased guidance, crushed all metrics. Okay, you're down 40 points, 30 points from the high. Okay, so, you know, it just depends on the market. Do I think they'll start to diverge from one another? Yeah, I do. I do think they're going to start to diverge. I think it's becoming clear who the leader is going to be. I think it's becoming abundantly clear that it's going to be BNTX. That's my sense of it. Here you are above the 8-day moving average, not a care in the world. You know, Moderna can't get above the 50. So Brett, I mean, you know this, I've been a huge short seller of Moderna. And I constantly am telling people that if they want to be long the space, and let's be honest about it, the vaccine makers aren't going anywhere. And Pfizer has an inordinate amount of money. So yeah, they're going to position themselves properly. And they're positioning themselves with the other treatment as well. So if I wanted to be in that space and wanted to buy, this is the one. And you actually even got a little move on, Friday, open right here, close right there. I mean, that's really hard to beat on a day like that. Really hard to beat. So, and the fact that you gap down, like here, look, like you gap down on Thursday And then what'd you do? You rallied to the 8. Like not a lot of stocks are doing that right now, are they? So, it's definitely something to watch. A news event could kill it, but other than that, I think you're fine. But they are. And if you're asking me what to do, I think one of the easiest pair trades in the world is to go long BNTX and short Moderna, like dollar for dollar. I think it's one of the easiest trades out there right now. I know last week you were still a fan of the Bearish 3X ETFs. Has that changed to me until things stabilize? Yeah, they are. I mean, look, here's the thing about me. I just short. I know a lot of people don't short. They don't like it. To me, it makes sense. I'm actually going through that tonight and looking at possible ideas. The problem with 3X ETF shorts is the moment that they don't go the right way, you get annihilated. So you could throw out the ones you want me to look at, but I was looking at this to see if this made sense tonight, and it doesn't. This doesn't make sense to me. Okay. I would rather this makes sense to me. To short that makes sense, but to buy this doesn't make sense to me. So, and that's the issue. One looks better than the other. I mean, you short that, the market drops 1%. Okay. I make 50 cents. What's the point? So same thing here with the stocks. Okay. You make, let's say the stocks drops 3%, right? I make 10%. I make 40 cents. By the time you get out and in and everything else, you're going to lose half the profit. So it depends on them. So the ones that I am looking at are like this. I'm looking at this VIX M. I think that this looks like it's about ready to rip. That's what I'm really curious about, how futures open up tomorrow. Let's look at where futures are right now. Yep, you're down to flat. So it could be a nothing opening, but we'll see what happens tomorrow morning. But looking at something like this, man, you have to really watch, really, really watch. But I really think that you could be in a position where the VIX just takes off. So you're going to have to see that. If you want to throw out names of ones you want me to look at, this one is appealing because you're completely breaking out here now, right? These gaps, when you gap like this and go, this one's appealing. I understand how people are going to look at this. It's an easy one to buy. It's not a hard one to look at. It's not a hard one to buy for me. This is very simple trade. So that's how I look at that one. I think that one's very simple. Yeah, I think cheap is just going to be, it's just going to be dependent upon what cheap is. Look, Tiger's cheap. It's at $5, right? These things are toast. Some of these fintech names are never coming back. People realize that fintech wasn't what they meant to be. That TZA is actually in the newsletter tonight. I'll walk you through the whole thing. That looks like it could explode. If this gets hit, I'll just walk you through the trade in my mind, right? So this is what I'm looking at. We bounce through it. We're starting to reject and go back under the 30. You go back under the 30, this is going to be nasty. That's not what you want. You don't ever really want to bounce over this and then come back through it. This bearish engulfing concerns me. So I'm just watching right now and seeing what's going to happen. And I'm not crazy about it at all. Even a little bit. So yeah, that TZA could rip. I like shorting. I think it's just easier. Maybe it's easier for me mentally. I don't know. But that's just what I do. I'll just short this. But yeah, you could go long TZA. Yeah, there's no question about it. This is one that I looked at where it looks ready that it could just absolutely rip here. So I understand what you say there. Yeah, I think AMC is going to be look, you have to understand things, okay? The value of AMC was basically trading people were using it as a store of value more than what the company was, right? You're below the 200-day. That thing's toast. if you want to close it, eventually you're going to want to close the short, right? Where's it going to go? I mean, they're not going out of business. Okay. AMC is not going out of business. They have over $1 billion or $2 billion in cash. The CEO did an amazing job raising cash during it. And they're not going to lose money because they're going to close places and leave the other ones open. So they'll make money. So it's going to be around. It's not a zero. The question becomes, where can you get to? Well, you just have to start looking at these little levels, right? You can get to 24. You can get here, 18. I mean, that's where you're heading, right? So what I would do, I would stay short. I actually would use see this pattern, this 3-bar pattern? It's very similar to something that I just showed on the TNA. Like, these are powerful. I would not be crazy that I closed here on the bar, but with that said, you see where you are on the bar? This whole thing encapsulated this. So I would watch this. For me, my stop would probably be 31.10 and I'd be out. I think you had a lot of people that were short that said, I'm going to go in and I'm going to close out my short positions. That's what I think. I could be wrong. I stayed long some tech names just to see what comes up. Their names I don't think I'll get killed in if we gap down tomorrow. But I wanted some exposure to the market based upon that. I saw it as well. What I don't like is I don't like looking at the daily positions and what happened. And I certainly don't like looking at things like this. So just to put this in perspective, Shane, like here, I'll show you what may be uncomfortable. And yes, I understand the month just started, but this is the monthly, okay? And this is a little bit of a shooting star on the monthly, and we've already broken that low. So, that doesn't really make me feel very comfortable. If you look at the Qs, okay, similar. So I'm not really crazy. Now watch this one, okay? I'm not really crazy. I mean, up, boom, and broke. So you already have outside months forming on these indexes. That's like the last thing you want to see. It really is. And you can start seeing these indexes, how they're rolling here, right? Like, I don't have a long-term sell signal in the market yet. I have a short-term one, but we're going to see how it goes. So, yeah, I'm happy that we saw some buying, but let's see how it plays out. Yeah, I mean, like, Affirm to me is just Affirm to me. It's funny. I was watching some people post some of these today about these are buys, and they're going to hold these support levels. They're not holding support levels, and there's a reason people are just getting out. And once you break, right, and you're below where you opened on January, towards the end of the year, which you are below, you're toast. You're toast until January. So could it work? You can try. You can try and catch these bottoms, but the more they accelerate down, the more people are saying, I'm just going to take the tax loss and revisit it. And if you want to get super technical swing, here's your channel. You broke out of your channel, so it picked a direction, right? Here's major support. We broke major support. What's there to talk about? I mean, the only thing really to talk about long term is you measure the top of this to the breakdown bar, okay, and you get 33%, and then you realize that you could go down 33%. I mean, that's kind of how it works, just to put it in perspective, right? It's a rough estimate of where it could go to, that's all. So then you just put this right back up here, and you look and go, okay, and where does 33% put us? So 33% puts you right around 127, right? So then let's see where that would put you. Yeah, I mean, like, look, you can see how that could happen. I mean, here's a level. So, it could even be here, right? It could even be this level. I mean, it's not exact, but that gives you a rough estimate. You take the size of that cup, because this is a cup. It's just turned over. So, like, if you think about it that way, right? When you look at something like this, it's just a cup. Everything's turned over. So if you grasp that, just picture all the crap coming out of the cup. Where's it going to go? Down. So I wouldn't be going near this. I saw someone else, and it always infuriates me when I see this stuff, but it is what it is. Trying to explain that, like, PayPal is going to hold. I don't know how anybody can look at this and assume that this is going to hold. right? Like it's completely shattered. It's breaking every single level. It's trying here, right? Maybe you bounce to the 21 day, but maybe you get to 200, but I don't think you're doing much more than that. Here, let's roll this back and look at that again. So I don't see the sense in buying these. A firm I actually had on the short list of top 10 this week. If you haven't watched that top 10 short list, you might want to watch it just because of what's on there. But, we'll see. Even if you don't short, you want to make sure that you don't have a name on there. Because if you have a name on there, you're going to want to be out of it. I'm fairly decent in predicting short patterns. Terry, I'm long docu through options. So I want to just get that out there. So I'm biased. So I'll just tell you my reason for doing it. To me, it's a very simple trade. Okay. And if I break this, I'm out. Okay. I'll just blow it out. When you sell down like this and you sell down over 100 points, which you did, this is not a joke. I mean, that's billions and that's a lot of money. Now, why I like this, it was 42% or 100 points. Why I like this is I saw what I wanted to see. I wanted to see institutions step up and buy it. And we saw that, right? I'm way behind, aren't I, on these? I'll speed this along. We saw institutions buy DocuSign on Friday. Based upon that, I like my position. If I break that low, I'm out. The fact that I'm at 12 on the RSI in one day is very appealing to me because these usually have some kind of snapback and then maybe roll back down, but I get my snapback. So I do think you could bounce. We just have to see if it happens. Oh, thanks. I started looking at that cloud pattern and I try not to go into things that are too complex. So I tried to make that really simple. But if you can master that video and watch it over and over again, like you can become extremely proficient. Right? There's a reason I watch the highs and the closes. There's more to it. Hey, Sarah. So there's obviously something going on with big tech, right? The way it's selling down. So to me, where would I buy puts? It's very simple, right? When you start closing below this little grouping right here, and you're below the 50-day, you can try. Here's where you're going. If this gets worse, you've broken this rising wedge right here. See, I mean, you can actually see it's actually perfect. Get rid of this. You can actually see how you couldn't even close above that. You're going to here. Okay, so that's a 10% move. All you want to use, Sarah, is you just want to use that low right there, 28.19. What are your thoughts about Ford? Looks like I'm going to stay. I'll stay a little longer than 7:30. I have a lot of questions in the queue. Yeah, like, look, I like it. I think that people are starting to finally understand that, they are the EV play. And I think people are kind of getting it. I think it was really very telling that they walked away from Rivian. Rivian didn't walk away from them. So I thought that was very telling. And I think that was pretty much the end of Rivian's big move. We traded that a lot, did well with it, right? But that was it. What are you going to do here? I mean, you have a bearish engulfing and these two are crossing. It's not great. You can easily come back in. That's a big move for the stock. But long term, I like it. I like it a lot. I'd be surprised if you break the 50-day, but you could. You could get to 1620. Either way, buy it. Yeah, I'd be out. I mean, like, I'd be out. I can get shock. I'm actually thinking of holding a whole conference on it to explain it. I think it's a one-in-a-lifetime event that you're going to see. Here's the issue that you're running into, just so you know, so you understand this, right? You have our government telling these companies, in order to stay listed, you have to meet SEC standards now. They're saying that they can't because the Chinese government won't let them. The Chinese government is now telling companies to delist. Institutions that have charters that are US based are not going to want to own stocks that are on the Shanghai or Hang Seng because they can't hedge them. that means you're going to have supply. Supply is going to drive these down. I think that these are some of the greatest short opportunities that are out there. Even if it went back up, I wouldn't care because the risk is too great. I mean, I've been talking about this. We've been short this one in the room, and I'm still talking about it, and I'm telling you to short more of it, right? So I think they're all absolutely hammered. You want a sign to watch for your XPEV? Just watch DIDI. DIDI breaks this, and it tells you everything you need to know, right? That breaks 6, I'd be out of anything related. Yeah, I'd stay away from all of them or short them. Yeah, I like adding to, look, I wouldn't add to Tesla here. I would wait and see if they pull back. Yeah, Mara puts look really good. Mara can work, Bob, big time. This can work big time. This could get super nasty, especially after the little blip you had on Friday on Bitcoin. So absolutely. Go Birds. I'll take it. We beat the Jets. I'll take it. What's up, Jay? Seasonality is a thing, and it's there. And, like there's a saying, Jay, man plans, God laughs. And it's true. Like you come into this, and my whole thesis was, I still have this thesis, but my whole thesis was you're going to see a rally because fund managers are behind. And exactly what we're seeing is we're seeing fund managers just sell to retain any profits they have because they're behind. So I'm seeing the exact opposite of what I thought would happen. You're on key levels. You have issued a short-term sell signal. I have 3 short-term sell signals now on the queues, to be honest. They're short-term sell signals. What does that mean to me? It means that we could either sell down or trade sideways. But I don't know that this rally's over, right? I mean, you could argue here that this is a cup, and that you came back down to test the cup break, and you're forming a handle. I mean, there's an argument to be made here that that's what's happening, right? But right now, I have a short-term sell signal, so I don't know that it's breached. I would like some confirmation. Closing below the 50-day tomorrow would be a sign that I'm right. NVIDIA is just an outright avoid for me right now. I mean, I hate to say that. I'm going to be blunt. Like, this is my write-up for the newsletter. It's no big deal because we're done. I mean, we closed it out with a $93 gain on the one part, 75 on the other. Like, it's done. It closed below the 21-day. We bought it here when it popped above it. And then we bought it another way when it popped above this, or over here. I think it was this one. So the question is, what do you do with it? Well, for me, simple. Like, I want it to work. I still have a little bit of the position. I have a long-term position in it I'll do nothing with. But in the short-term account, I have a little bit in the short-term account. But we'll see. I broke. I mean, it's just really that simple. It broke. It broke, and it's weaker than the socks. So, hey, John. Yeah, I think Bob is going much lower short-term. I think Bob is going much lower, John. We have a position in the trading room. I think we're up on the option position. I mean, I can tell you in a minute where we're at with it. But we have a position, and we've been shorting it. I've been shorting it since 275, and I've been telling people. If you go through my Twitter feed, you'll see it. People are really grossly underestimating the power. Yeah, we're up threefold in the option right now. So people are grossly underestimating the power of the government. It was very clear what they're doing. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not trying to be political. All I can do is play the cards that were dealt, right? That's all we can do. The government sees. I listened to somebody that's much smarter than me on this topic. And the biggest existential threat China faces, as this is what they think it is they think it's technology. They do not think it's the U.S. They think it's technology. So they're starting to see signs of that. DIDI went on their own. Baba, Jack Ma started speaking out. So they're going to punish these people. And that's what they're doing. It's exactly what they're doing. They're going to take it all from them, all their power. And, just because they even move to these different exchanges, I still think they're going to kill these big tech companies. So, yeah, I think it goes much lower. I think you see 80s in the next 3 weeks. I think it's a possibility. Rblx is straight out of void. So you're holding that 21, but when you break 111, you're going to have to get out. You can get to 104 fairly quickly, but this is not one that I would be staying in right now. You're breaking. Hey, Anna. PayPal we just did. I'll do team. So, yeah, you need to hold that level right there. You're right on support, right? Look where we are, Anna. We're right where we bought on the breakout the last time. So, and then you had earnings and then it broke. So, we can just throw that in there so you can see it. I love these trades. They're so simple, so easy, but it's not something I do in here now. Crocs, I just don't understand, but people love it. That's not broken. You've crossed, you're selling down. Look, as long as you hold that 50-day, you're okay. If you close below the 50-day, it tells you people went out. You have a wedge line right here that you broke. So you can get back to this level, this 125 level. You're going to have to just make sure that you hold the 50-day, because you're below the 50 on your RSI. That's not great. It's not really where you want to be. DKS. Yeah, I think this had its day in the sun. We did a trade in the room, 135, got stopped out at 135. Always honor your stops, right? See how it responds to the 200-day. Maybe it's fine support. I don't know. Maybe it finds support. Look, consumer confidence is really getting hit, but maybe it finds support there. The problem with the the RSI bounce on the China names, and I'm not saying that there can't be, and I hope there is, because I'd short way more of it if they bounce. I'd love that. But the issue is you're facing a geopolitical issue. And if you really want to get super technical, this is where the RSI was when we were here. This is where the RSI is now. Okay? And you're lower. So that tells you pretty much, and we're going down. So that pretty much tells you everything you need to know. Now, I'm not saying it's a straight line. They could bounce tomorrow. Any geopolitical event where China comes to terms with the U.S. and the U.S. comes to terms with China, it stops. I don't see how that's going to happen. So you have an existential and macro geopolitical event that's driving this. Sometimes technology and technical analysis get thrown out the window when that happens, Ken. So I'm not looking for a bounce, but if I get it, I'd happily short more. Yeah, the top 10 video had three of the top 10 videos in there. They were three shorts. XPV, XPEV was one of the shorts. DIDI is just an outright. I think it's going to be like a money market account till it goes under. If it breaks 6, just short the heck out of it, in my opinion. And Baba, I think, is toast. You're on major, I can't stress this enough. There's levels to support, and you're at major support right now. And it looks like you're going to break. Yeah, Docu, I felt bad for too. I felt bad for people in Docu. That broke hearts, especially when you don't have a stop process, or you have a stop process and you don't honor it, which is even worse. It's even worse when you're supposed to have stops and then don't use them. Best semiconductor stock I can see in the next 100 years. I don't know. For me, it's NVIDIA, if I had to pick. MRVL crushed earnings, and they said all the right stuff, and they're in the right space. I just still think it's NVIDIA. Yeah, I think MRVL is going to be around. I do agree with that. Let's just keep going. No, I would not be buying these. I can't stress this enough. I actually think I may hold a conference on this. First off, I'm just going to give you a little bit of advice, and you can either listen to it or not. Never average down on your positions. Never average down on your positions. Once you put a full size position on, never average into them. Okay. So what are we going to do about this? What are we looking at? You're just looking at just complete utter meltdown of these names. That's my opinion, right? I don't think you've seen anything yet to how bad these can get. All right. So that's my opinion of them. I could be wrong. It wouldn't be the first time in my life, but I think that these things are going to just get absolutely hammered. And I definitely wouldn't be in it. And the question that I would pose to you is, when is enough? When is enough pain? When are you going to sell? What is your plan? Because my plan would be that as soon as I broke the 50-day here, I would be out. That would have been my plan. So I would argue that you need a plan to preserve the rest of the money that you have in there. Instead of focusing on what you lost, focus on what you can lose. "5G, isn't that how they're going to program us? Isn't that what all like the tinfoil hats say? PROG. I'm not a tinfoil hat guy, by the way. No, you broke the 50-day. I wouldn't go near that. I wouldn't go near that. Got him. Built hard on this one. Just keep going. Yeah, Anita, I would be out of, like I said this earlier today, and I'll just go through this. Let me just go through this pattern. So here's what happened. This is IWM. You are clearly below the 200-day. The 50 is turning down. The 21 is going to cross the 50. The 8 just crossed the 200. They rallied us over it and then encapsulated the bar. Now, if this was a 3-bar pattern that was facing up the other way, I would be all over it on the long side, because these 3-bar patterns are really vicious. And this is setting up for a nasty, nasty time. So what I would say, if you were in small caps and you're trying to figure out what to do with them, I would watch this support line, right? Like this is a major here. Let me just show this. So I'll put this here. Just point that right there. So this is a nasty reversal. And you can see how we held that level, but we've never had to hold that level with a bearish engulfing, which usually signifies pain is coming. Right. And then you reversed here. I would not be in them. I had some small cap exposure on the long side on Friday and I closed it. I'd be really careful there. CHD. So, yeah, you bounced right off the 50. I mean, look, that could go, but you have to get over this top of this bar. If you can get over 94.37, that could bounce. That looks good. It's respecting the 21-day. It's trying to respect the 8. Any 3D, please. Merger's happening on the 18th of this month. So what is the merger? What's the merger price? I mean, there's obviously people are not excited about the merger unless it's going to reverse. But you need to make sure that you hold this level or you got to get out. You know, Victor, I got to be honest, like I have not done that level of work on Marvel and I could be wrong. Maybe it is that kind of player. So I don't know who you read. I mean, I have access to pretty much anybody that writes reports, but I haven't read that. I haven't gotten that deep into it. For me, I look at that bar and that bar is concerning, right? So let's get rid of all this. So let's just pretend that they make widgets, right? Because to me, it matters, but it doesn't really matter. Because if we correct, everything's going to come in, okay? If we correct, everything's going to come in. It's just the way that it is. So we're going to have to try and figure out what we're going to do about that. So if I'm in this trading range, I'm doing nothing. If I break below this, even if I think it's the greatest company in the world, I may still put a short on it because I think I could make 10%. So, and I want to make 10%. Like, I mean, it's just how I trade. If I can get over 88.50, I'd be very impressed. They're my levels, and that's how I'm looking at that trade. Fundamentally, I don't know enough to talk intelligently about what you're talking about, but I will look into it now that you said that. I will do a little more research. MMTLP, 5 letters. What could go wrong? MMTLP. No. Stop buying small cap stocks like this. Yeah, I like that, man. I do. I agree. Yeah, they have cash, but they're burning through it, but they'll go raise more cash. I think Merck. You're going to see a flight like here. Let's just go through what's going on. I think Merck's kind of out of the game, right? It's all about like people aren't as like if you talk to doctors. I don't know if you're friends with doctors, but if you talk to doctors, the one that they're jumping up and down about, Jordan, is this Visor drug. Like they are all over this Visor drug, and I think that's why you're seeing the difference. Merck's claim to fame. People, they're probably not going to be prescribed. Because people are, I mean, the data that I read on that Visor drug is through the roof, like just absolutely through the roof. So, a matter of fact, the data on that drug was one of the reasons there was some judge that just shot down like one of the mandates. The data on that drug was one of the reasons why the judge even stated it. It's like insane. I don't want to misquote it, so I'm not going to, but read what happened, Jordan, with that Visor. With their oral treatment. So, yeah, I think they're all going to start blowing up. I do. I think they're all going to come in. I think we're just starting to see it. Let me get through that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a strategy. I'll give you numbers. Like you put $1,000. I don't know what your account is. It's none of my business. You put $1,000 in BNTX long, you put $1,000 in an mRNA short. When I ran my fund, that's all we did. Like we would do that all the time. Makes sense. You want to own the winner, but you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, I don't know, man. I could be out of that tomorrow. So you could be right on that, Gotham. Yeah, it's not the bottom, dude. We're not near the bottom. There's no sign of, I can't stress that enough. Like my short-term sell signal just triggered. I can't stress that enough. I bought the 145s. They made the most sense to me. I figured the reason that I bought the 145s is because, and I bought them, this year. So the reason I bought the 145s is because I could gap up. You get someone coming out tomorrow, wants to make a name for themselves, puts a $200 target price on it. You don't know what's going to happen. And when you're that oversold, and I have a big buyer in that name right now. I got Kathy selling Tesla. If you know how to read the tape, you can kind of see this before she even comes out with it. But you got Kathy dumping Tesla and buying Docu. I mean, she's got massive pockets, and she can move Docu. She can move. She can't move Tesla really, but she can move Docu for sure. So, but the high IV, as the IV goes higher, I'm answering this question, but to answer the question, as the IV goes higher, right? Which the VIX is going higher, right? Like we're in agreement on that, I'm sure. Like the VIX went higher on Friday. Like that's emphatic, right? So if I'm long options, my calls or puts went up because the VIX went up because the implied volatility went up. So I made, I didn't make money. I'm down on the option, but it's worth holding overnight for me. Rblx, we went over, Jerry. I hope you saw it. It's got to hold that 110 level. You can see it right here if you want to look through the names. I'll just click on it. I mean, by the time I do that, 111, you have to hold 111. If you don't, you have issues. But I would not be a buyer of it. So to me, I can read the tape a little bit and look at it and kind of see the block trades going through. And that's just from staring at this tape for a very long period of time. You can also go through, if you have access to dark pool information, you can look at dark pools and see how they're positioning themselves. And I get a printout every night of all of ARK's moves. And anybody can get that. If you want that, just let me know, Brett. I can have it set, show you how to do it. It's simple. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Adam. I think I don't get as many subscribers. It's funny. Someone else said that to me, and I was talking to a friend that has a guy I became friendly with that listens to the channels, actually in the trading room, and he has a huge, huge following on YouTube. It's got hundreds of thousands of people, and we were talking about it. The issue becomes that I'm like a voice of reason, and I'm not very hyperbolic. Let's just leave it at that. But I love doing it. I'm just doing it for fun. We'll see how far it gets. But I appreciate it. I think we'll get there eventually. I think we'll get to 100,000. I think it's just a matter of time. I'd like to help as many people as possible. I actually have a educator. I know I'm going over tonight. You just bump out and leave, but there's a lot to go over. We actually have an educator in the trading community, and he sent me this entire list of things that I should be doing. So I'm starting to do that. And yeah, I'm going to do a whole series on options, like an entire series from like soup to nuts. That's probably going to, I think it's going to blow a lot of things away that are on YouTube right now. So yeah, I see a ton of them now. I have access to a lot of people, Adam. I've been a trader for a long time. I try not to say 20 years because then they torment me in the comments when I say it. But I used to be on the sell side is the best way to explain it. So I used to work at investment banks and institutions, and then I went on the buy side and owned my own shop. So I'm very familiar with a lot of people in the street. So I have access to a lot of people. The people that truly understand it the most that you could listen to, if you listen to Anthony Scaramucci talk about China, he completely understands it. And so does Bass. I think his first name's Kevin. I think it's Kevin Bass. They understand it emphatically, like they truly get it. And when I was at an event and I listened to somebody speak at that event, and I got it. I was like, oh, they're done. These companies are done. Like this is one of the easiest trades of the year, probably for next year too. I think it can go lower. You have a huge short position in this, and they're making money, and you just broke. Yeah, you can go to the 200 here. You can go to 61 easy. Yeah, the video. Yeah, I think the video is a 10-year play. I mean, I just do. What to buy in general retail? Like, I don't think you buy anything here. I think you need to wait and watch and see how tomorrow and this week plays out. Don't be in a hurry. Like, if you really are looking to buy something, this is one thing that I would tell everybody to do. And I know I'm spending a lot of time on this tonight. I'm going to try and wrap this up in a moment. But we'll see. I want to get the newsletter out shortly. So one of the things I tell people to do, and I would recommend that everybody that's watching this video do this one thing on your trading software. Put all the sectors of the S&P and put the S&P with it. It's a really quick way for people to see where money is flowing. Okay. The number one sector that was up is consumer staples. Okay. Consumer staples are Clorox, Procter & Gamble. Okay, see Procter & Gamble's move? Okay, that's where the money's going. Colgate. Okay, that's where the money's going. You can see it on Friday. They were all up. So by doing this, it shows you what sectors have money flow when the markets are going down, and that allows you to figure out where you could put some capital if you're interested in doing something like that. I don't do it because they don't move fast enough for me. Merck or MO? If I had to pick, MO all day. You could just listen. People are not going to stop smoking. What's the dividend right now? What's it paying? I mean, people are not going to stop smoking. It's not going to happen. It pays an 8% dividend. Like that's something that could fly in this market if they don't cut rates and the market still comes down. So to me, yeah, I like that. I mean, I could see why people would be buying that here. They're not going out of business. They're not. People don't own it for ethical reasons. I would argue as a trader that you should be a sociopath. So you just focus on making money. What you do with that money, you can give it to charity. But, to me, you buy companies that make money. The dividend's there. The one reason that it stays so cheap is people don't go near it. You have to watch what you buy for yield. I've been fighting against people buying AT&T for years, telling them they're crazy. I mean, there's a dividend cut coming, so you have to watch that. But out of it, MO all day long. Hope that's clear, Jordan. K-Web. So no, you can't go near this. I mean, this is just an outright short. What is it, like trust of all Chinese shares? That's what it looks like. Yeah, you can't go near this. I mean, if you're looking at a short it. Yeah, you could still short that. Yeah, you're Hing. See that H? Yeah, I mean, that's a 4-point short. If you take out the high of the month, just close it. But yeah, I mean, this could get smoked. Hey, Paul. So yeah, I think it would change my thesis a little bit, right? So let me just show you a couple things. So let's talk about what you just said, Paul, because it's kind of interesting. So yeah, it would change. Let me show you what it would change. I would get over this, right? Which would possibly get me over the 8, which could reverse this 21 and 8 coming over, right? And then that gets me over the rising wedge. So yeah, that would be interesting. And the other thing that it would do, if it closed over it, it would negate the bearish engulfing. So it would actually trigger 3 different kinds of indicators. So yes, that may change my position. That's why it's a short-term sell signal. But yes. All right, I got to jump to the front of this, and then I'm going to have to wrap this out up. I'm going to look into MRVL. To me, TA is always king, period. Price is everything. Price rules everything, period. I mean, I can't say that enough. Write it down. Get a tattoo. Price rules everything. So everything else is a conversation. Apple. Hey, Andreas. I still think it's possible, Jen. But I think you might have a little more pain first. Apple. Look, I'm caveat. I have a position in this. I added to the position on Friday. I could be wrong. I think it's incredible how it's holding up. I think it's absolutely incredible. If I break this low, right, I'm out of the entire position. 157. But the way that this stock is holding up, man, if this market reverses, it's going to go higher. All right, everybody, I got to finish the newsletter and get some things done. Everybody, have a great evening. We'll do a pre-market tomorrow and look at the markets, 8:30. Subscribe to the channel if you don't, and share this. I want to get more people in here. I appreciate when you share it. So that's it. That's all I got. Have a great night, everyone.